You ready?
Roll it.
You guys ready? All right. Good morning, everybody. It's Coffee Talk. Grab your coffee and let's get talking.
I love that you just workshop taglines right in the middle.
Yes, that's the way we do it.
There's a helicopter going over. Probably
Yeah.
half the people didn't even hear.
That's right. That's right. It's a little noisy here because we're down at the beach, and it's the perfect place to be in the summertime. You are going to be playing sand soccer on Monday night with the youth, so that's why we're
Hopefully.
here. You'll tell us a little bit more about that in a minute, but
Probably not.
looking back, looking back on this last Sunday. Actually, before we do that, I was away. You were away.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about looking back on your week. You were at. Tell us where we were.
I had some weeks all over the place.
Yep.
Some were working and some were not. And the first one was we as a family, minus the younger two, did the Penticton Grand Fondo, the Okanagan Grand Fondo, and that was just a big thing. And then we were back.
How'd you feel winning the whole thing?
Honestly,
You'd like to thank the little guy?
3/4 of the way through,
Uh-huh.
I kind of looked up at the sky and said, "Why did I do this?"
Yeah.
It was that hot and it was that hard, and it was not an easy thing. But I did it, and I'm so glad I did it, and it was beautiful. Then I was back for a couple of days, and then I actually went to Maple Ridge, and I was part of the coaching team, sort of parental staff of BC Summer Games, and Carter did triathlon there with BC Summer Games. That was so fun. That's why I'm like
Yeah, I see that. Yep.
sporting my red Zone
Basically,
2.
you got free sunglasses
Says
and you want to
BC.
show it off.
That's true, but I actually did a lot of coaching,
I
and
know you
we
did,
also did a relay, coaches against all the kids, and
Did you get smoked?
my team walloped only because we had some pretty top level Iron Men on my relay team, so
Nice.
I pulled up the rear with the red. Anyways, then we went to Cape and Ray Bible Camp and spent a week as a family there on the island, on Thetis Island, and it was fantastic. Had a whole beautiful time on the island as a family, and saw her parents and saw some other people and made some great connections. Studied the whole book of Romans in 1 week, so I've got it all figured out.
Wow. Beauty. Good for you, man. All right. So 12-week teaching session by Kevin?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I was away as well. The first week my dad was here, so I did all kinds of fun stuff around the Okanagan with my dad, and that was just really, really great. And then last week I was just at home. My boys were working, so I kind of did little projects around the house and hung out and just relaxed a little bit, and it was great. So yeah, good to be back though. We've got lots coming up, which we'll get to. Chris, did you have anything that you wanted to say? You know, you weren't away, but you know, being here alone.
Oh,
how
it
hard
was like I
and-
was away. You guys, no, it was great.
Yeah, we saw Coffee Talk last week where you were driving around and just having a blast, so that's good.
It was good times.
So this past Sunday, you met Dave Moore. He is our executive, area minister, I think? Area minister.
Area director.
The title is Executive Minister of the BC Baptist
That's
Association.
what it is, yes.
That's
We always think of him as area minister. And
if you caught the introduction, he's just Dave.
Yeah, he's just
He
Dave.
thanked
Yeah.
me afterwards
Yeah.
for that. He's
Yeah.
like, that was perfect.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And he's just
Yeah.
Dave because he comes in. One Sunday we were getting ready for this morning gathering on Sunday morning, and it was early, and all of a sudden Dave and his wife Kim walk in, and they prayed with us before they were heading down to Osoyoos.
Yeah.
It was just, you know, he's one of those guys that is just like, I'm just so excited to hang out with him, you know, and learn from
support
him.
and care.
Yeah. So you heard from him, and he talked about Romans 12:1 and 2, and this is just two of my favorite verses. We've actually talked about them on a Sunday morning a year ago or so, and then he talked about it, and he talked about serving from worship. Like, if we're serving to be seen, then we're not serving from worship, because serving from worship is to make Jesus beautiful, to point people to Jesus, and it was so good. But I wanted to just maybe explore a little how. Okay, so how do I make sure that I'm serving out of a worship heart, that I'm living a life of worship. What does that look like? How do I wake up? Like Sunday morning, we go to church and we sing a bunch of songs. We say that's worship, but that's just a little part of worship. What does it mean to have a heart of worship? When I wake up Monday morning, when I eat lunch Monday after, Monday at noon, and just carry it on through each whatever moment you come to. What does that look like to actually have a heart of worship? So maybe we could just talk a little bit about that, and not that we're going to give you all the answers, but we're just going to talk a little bit about it, get you thinking about that. What does it, and I think part of it is asking these questions and talking about it and thinking about it. So here we go. But what do you guys think? What are some thoughts you have?
Well, my snarky first thought is it's why I sing a hymn every morning on the way to church. But
I see.
No, I'm kidding.
Which hymn do you sing?
Right. I think it is about where is my gaze and where is my focus. That's kind of the first point, because I do think worship is so much more than just a song. Though a song is a great way to bring us into worship, and it's a great aspect of it. I don't want to disparage that. But it's, what am I really focusing on? And thank you for saying the point I was going to say that I gave you right beforehand, because it adds extra.
Sorry,
no,
man,
don't be sorry. No, I'm thanking you.
From Chris.
I'm thanking you because it shows that we see things similarly, right? And it's not just this one-off thing.
Yeah.
But like that idea is, so it starts with where is my gaze? What am I focusing on? And what is my desired outcome? Because if my desired outcome is for people to like me more, and people to think Chris is greater, then it's not actually service that honors God, right? It's not service that comes from a place of worship, and so it would be a miss. Now, if the focus is on how do I serve in a way so that Jesus is great and people have a greater thing about Him, then we're headed in the right direction. So it's, what is my starting point? Am I starting by securing my identity in who God is and what He's done and who He's made me to be, and that He's going with me in all of this service? And is my intention to make me, or to make Lakeview look great, or to make whatever my ancestors look great, whatever, or is it to make Jesus great? And so that people want to know Him more. That's
really good. You had something really good to say too, but let me just interject on that. So this just comes. It reminds me of a pastor that I really respect, older than me, gives me a lot of wisdom. I don't actually even know him. I just listen to his sermons, and I've seen him on podcasts and YouTube videos and stuff. But he said, he was doing a preaching class, and he said he was asking this question to an older preacher. You guys are having a lot of fun with the sand.
No, just we're listening. We're listening.
You
can't bring us to the beach and not let the ADHD take over a bit.
He said that he was asking an older pastor at one point in his life, how do I want to look good when I'm preaching? How do I stop that? And he said that the pastor told him, he said, when I climb the steps to preach, on the second to last step, I say to the Lord, I want to look good. And on the last step, he says, but I want you to look better. Something like that, right? And so I think what you're saying there is not that we have to say, I don't care what people think, because we have to acknowledge we do. We just do. We're human, we do. But then to say to the Lord, I really want you to look great. That's what I really want. Help me prioritize, and I think that might be a practical, how do I, do what you were saying, acknowledge, I want to look good, but Lord, I really want to know how to make you look good, and help me with that. So, I don't know, it just struck me.
Right,
as
no, you're absolutely right. It's why I framed it in the, what is my end goal here? Is my end goal to make, so that others have a better view of God? And am I willing to, in that, to be anonymous? Am I willing in that to have nobody know who I am?
Yeah, because if my priorities are right. Yep. And then you had something to add about.
So, I grew up on the prairies. We're going to do a left turn. I grew up on the prairies. We have lots of snow. We have lots of ice.
Do you have any sand?
It's all flat land. No sand, because that requires beaches. We don't have beaches and lakes. When everything is super icy and you're driving along, they teach you in driver's ed, when your car hits ice, it's extremely important where you look. because wherever you look, that's where your hands are going to instinctually turn you towards. So if there's another car coming and you're saying, oh no, oh no, oh no, and you're looking at that car, you're probably going to turn in the car. If you look at the ditch, you're probably going to like instinctively try and get back control, but you're going to look at the ditch and go in the ditch. If you look at that perfect little whatever, somebody pulls out and you have that little gap there, look at the gap, and it says you have to instinctually try and, then it's not instinct. You have to train yourself.
Go where you're looking.
Go where you're looking. So, my thought of all of this in taking this Romans, it actually felt like a class. Is the context coming into 11 is who we are in Christ, and we have been adopted as children of God. We have the full inheritance of God. So then he starts in, therefore, because we are children of God, now let's look at your identity, and your identity is in view of the mercy of God, offer yourself, like give yourself, and like what you're saying, Chris, if you are able to look at, I have been adopted. I have become a child of God. I was once far off, and I have been received into inheritance of God and his greatest riches. If I can remind myself of that, then everything changes from that point on. And I'm able to go about my day, whether it's driving a car, whether it's, and Dave got into that a little bit. Students, what would it look like if you approached that project or you approach school with that sense of, I am a child of God, I have been received, I am loved and cared for, and therefore I will give this my all and my gusto. Parents, what would it look like, or that difficult relationship, what would it look like if every moment around that difficult relationship I'm looking at who God has made me to be? Chances are I'm probably going to have a better pattern of worship as a life skill rather than worship as a snippet, as we sometimes make it into be, this well-defined thing. We often call it music. Worship is so much more than that. Worship really is that sense of obedience to God and turning our lives towards him. So if I can look where I'm supposed to be going, which is the gospel is real in my life. I have been washed by the blood. I'm going to live out of that, and there's a couple of cool thoughts that this guy brought forward. Living sacrifices do two things. One, a living sacrifice submits to God, and two, he goes on later in the chapter to say a living sacrifice submits to others, and it goes on to even just talk about what that looks like. But even like to go about my day, God, I submit to you, and I submit myself to others around me, and boy, that sure would change a lot of our day, right? Like it would take away road rage. It would take away that sense of me first. It would change the way that I do things, but it has to start early in order for it to change our day. Or, like I was reminded on the way here, it actually is a whole life skill, because I was like speeding along, trying to rush down here to record on time, and then I ended up, behind the police officer. I'm like, okay, well now I'm going to follow the rules because I'm being watched. No. It actually, the right thing to do was 5 kilometers ago.
Super challenging.
Yeah.
Super challenging, and I'm just reminded of how the disciples asked Jesus, "How then shall anybody be saved?" And he's like, "It's impossible. With people, it's impossible, but with God, it's possible, right?"
Yeah.
And that's what you're kind of saying. We're children of the King. We are already loved. We are, like, if I really understood that, it's kind of like, so I grew up liking Superman. So if I knew I was Superman, nothing that anybody did against me would bother me, because I'm Superman.
That's
you
true.
know? Well, I'm a child of the King. Whatever you do is not going to hurt me. The King's got me,
Yeah.
Imagine how much different if we actually, truly believed it so much that just exuded from what we did, right? And that's a lifetime, of practice, like you said. Practice. Anyways, I hope this gives you thoughts to think about, not just to think about, but to incorporate into your thinking and living. and acting, because that's really what following Jesus is all about. And so even on Sunday, we're going to talk about this identity part a little bit more in 1 John. So we're excited to continue on there on Sunday. Sunday is also communion, so we will be celebrating that together at that beautiful symbol again. So that's coming up this Sunday. Tell us about something else that's coming up.
Yeah, Drama Camp is coming in like a week and a half-ish.
We're not nervous about that at all.
I am not nervous about that. I am nervous about I am nervous that on the Monday morning at Drama Camp, I'll be like, I feel like I should be somewhere. And then they're like, oh yeah, it's Drama Camp. But it is coming up in August.
Great.
And on the 18th, there is a special role for you, and that is to be the audience. We do 2 performances. We do Friday night as a dinner theater for all the families of those who have been part of camp. And then Sunday morning, it's for everybody and anybody who wants to come and see it. And so we invite you to that, 10 o'clock on the 18th. Make sure you're there because it's going to be a really fun morning. And so, yeah, that's all I kind of want to say. I don't want to give too much of the story away.
Yeah. Oh, it's great,
but
though.
it's a role for you to be there as the audience and be part of it.
It's always super fun on that Sunday, but for everybody involved, that whole week is just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So be praying for that, for all the details that come together, the kids that come, the families that are affected by that. Something else that's coming up a little bit further down the road?
Yeah, we're calling a save the date. There's some stuff happening between now and then, but the one that we really want to push for is October 4th and 6th. It is the weekend before Thanksgiving, so not Thanksgiving. The weekend before is we are going to have a celebration because this is the 50th year of Lakeview's inauguration here on the west side of Kelowna. And so we are very excited to just celebrate that. And so we're going to kind of put a bit of a weekend thing together. We're going to do a Friday night evening, and then we're going to do a Sunday morning service. Just giving thanks to God and praising Him for all that He has done and all that He has provided us with over the last 50 years in His faithfulness. And we live in an amazing place, and we have been so richly blessed, and we just want to acknowledge a lot of stuff. So this is simply just to save the date. More details to follow, but save the date for October 4th and 6th.
Yeah, super exciting. We have a lot going on. So hope that you're enjoying the summer and getting out of the beach or whatever you do over the summer to be outside in God's creation. And we hope that you have a great rest of your week. We'll see you Sunday.